The group chat buzzed for the 7th time before I'd even made it to the coffee pot. Messages chimed one after another. Photos of airline tickets, snapshots of suitcases half-packed, giddy notes about beachwear and cocktails. Emojis everywhere. My mom had sent a string of dancing ladies and palm trees. My brother Adam dropped a joke about his new swim trunks. His wife chimed in with a list of spa treatments she'd booked. Even Uncle Grant was in on the excitement. Everyone was clearly in. Everyone except me. I scrolled back up, rereading a message that snagged in my chest like a fishhook. Maya, can you send your flight details so we can coordinate airport pickups? It was from Mom. Cheerful, direct, casual. The only problem was, I had no flight booked, because no one had told me where we were staying. No hotel address, no booking confirmation, not even a heads up that they'd made arrangements. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd missed something, so I scrolled further. But no. Nothing. I'd been included in the conversation just enough to assume I was invited, but not enough to actually be included. My stomach tightened as I sent a message directly to my mom. Hey, just double-checking. Was a room booked? For me too? The dots blinked for 5 full minutes. Then came the reply. Oh, completely forgot. Everything's full now. Maybe you can find something nearby? Sorry, sweetie. No explanation. No apology. Just... Oops. I stared at my screen, heart thudding. It wasn't even anger that hit me first. It was that slow, familiar ache, like pressing on a bruise you've had for years. Because this wasn't new. In my family, I was always the forgotten one. The afterthought. The extra seat. The one they left out of photos, out of group dinners, out of plans. The one who never quite fit. Adam was the golden boy. Married, mortgage, MBA, 2 kids under 5. Uncle Grant was the jolly favorite, always telling the same stories. And I, Maya, I was the quiet one, the single one. The one who built an award-winning interior design firm from scratch. The one with 2 passports, international clients, and a portfolio featured in Elle Decor. But to them, I was just Maya, the artsy one, the one still playing dress-up for a living. You should get a stable job, Mom had said last Christmas. Interior decorating is fun, but it's not a career. Adam's wife added, It's like super creative, but not sustainable, right? I'd smiled then. I always smiled, but today I wasn't going to swallow it. Not this time. I walked across my apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the Lisbon skyline, and opened my laptop. My fingers were steady as I opened a private browser window. 3 words, Amalfi Coast Villas. The family had chosen a small, budget-friendly resort for Mom's 60th birthday. Quaint and cozy, she'd called it. They'd apparently booked out all the apartments in the complex. All of them, without telling me. Fine, I filtered for luxury. Ocean view. Full staff. There it was. Villa Aurelia. 7 bedrooms, infinity pool, sea-to-sky windows, private chef. $19,800 for 5 days. I paused for exactly 3 seconds. Then I booked it. Immediately after, I fired off a quick note to my assistant, Leah. Please arrange full welcome prep for Villa Aurelia. Mom's favorite flowers in the foyer, her favorite rosé chilled, music on arrival. And make sure every room has personalized tags. Miss Maya. Also, coordinate Rolls-Royce pickup from the airport. Quiet luxury, no logos. Her reply came 10 minutes later. Everything confirmed. Do you want the villa staff to inform the family resort when you arrive? I typed back without hesitation. No. Let's keep it a surprise. I want to see their faces. I closed the laptop and took a long sip of my coffee. It tasted different now. Stronger. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like an afterthought. I felt like the main character, and in 3 days, they would too. The gravel crunched softly beneath the wheels of the Rolls-Royce as we pulled up to the front gate of Villa Aurelia. The wrought iron doors swung open like a curtain before a grand performance, and I stepped into a version of life I had designed entirely for myself. The driver, dressed in crisp charcoal, opened the door. I adjusted my sunglasses and stepped out, the morning sunlight catching on my white linen jumpsuit. Effortless, clean, intentional. "Welcome to Villa Aurelia, Miss Maya." The villa manager greeted me with a small bow. His Italian accent wrapped around every word like silk. "Everything has been arranged exactly to your specifications." "Grazie," I replied, smiling. "Let's have a quick walkthrough." From the moment I stepped inside, the difference was palpable. The foyer was dressed in soft neutrals and high-contrast stone. White marble floors stretched endlessly, cool beneath my sandals. Tall archways opened to ocean views in every direction. The scent of lavender and sea salt hung delicately in the air. Champagne waited in a crystal bucket on the side table, sweating slightly in the Mediterranean heat. On the marble island in the kitchen, a vase of fresh peonies, Mom's favorite, stood proudly beside a handwritten welcome card to Miss Maya. Buon Viaggio. It was flawless, sharp, elevated, the opposite of what I imagined the family's resort looked like. I followed the villa manager up the wide staircase, past a gallery of curated art and sun-drenched walls, until we reached the upper terrace. From here, I could see it all, the blue sea stretching into the horizon, the cliffs dotted with villas, and just downhill, their little cluster of apartments. From my perch, it looked like a different world. Bright beach towels flapped over iron railings. Plastic lounge chairs dotted the pool area like scattered dice. And right there, I spotted them. My brother Adam was lounging shirtless by the pool, drink in hand. His wife, Rachel, snapped photos while Mom sat under an umbrella chatting with Uncle Grant. Laughter floated faintly up the hillside, carefree and oblivious, until the Rolls-Royce caught their attention. I heard it before I saw it, one of the YI villa staff wheeling my custom luggage toward the entrance below. A flash of silver and tan leather caught the sun just right. Heads turned. Sunglasses tilted. I watched the moment realization flickered across their faces. Adam's glass froze halfway to his lips. Rachel leaned forward like she was trying to get a better angle. Mom shaded her eyes and stood, squinting uphill. It was delicious. I stepped back from the terrace slowly and turned toward the villa, letting the breeze lift the hem of my jumpsuit. I didn't wave. I didn't smile. I didn't acknowledge them. Let them wonder. Inside, the staff was already beginning to set things in motion. One laid out the fresh linens in the dining room, while another confirmed the chef's arrival time. For tomorrow's dinner, I walked barefoot into the massive open-concept living area, each step sinking into the cool stone floors. "Miss Maya," Leah's voice came through on my phone. "Just confirming. Birthday dinner is at sunset tomorrow." "Yes," I said, sinking onto a sunbed beside the pool. "Make sure Chef Vittorio has the lemon torte ready as the final course. And I want live music. Something soft, cello, or classical guitar." "Got it. Anything else?" "Yes. Tell the villa manager to deliver engraved place cards for each. Guest tomorrow afternoon. Personalized. They'll know where to sit. Done. Oh, and your mother's rosé is chilling. Perfect." I ended the call and laid my head back, the sun warming my skin. There was a time when I would have cried over being left out. But not this time. This time, I didn't ask for a seat at their table. I built my own. And tomorrow, they'd sit at it. On my terms. The sun was already high by the time I slipped on my oversized sunglasses and stepped out of the cool shadow of Villa Aurelia. I took my time walking down the winding path that connected the cliffside villas to the lower resort. The gravel was warm under my sandals, and every step echoed with quiet purpose. Around my wrist, a silk scarf fluttered in the breeze. I was dressed in a pale linen wrap dress, simple and elegant, paired with gold hoops and confidence that didn't require a script. As I turned the corner toward the pool area of their resort, the laughter and music faltered like someone had nudged the volume knob down. Mom was reclined in a lounge chair, flipping through a magazine she probably wasn't reading. Uncle Grant was half submerged in the pool with a beer in hand. Adam and Rachel sat side by side, scrolling on their phones. Laura, the cousin who never missed a spotlight, was adjusting her floppy hat, probably for an Instagram story. Then, they saw me. Adam's head jerked up first. Rachel nudged him, whispering something. Laura froze mid-sip of her mimosa. Mom dropped her magazine in her lap. Maya. Mom blinked like she couldn't quite trust her eyes. I smiled coolly and removed my sunglasses. Hi, everyone. The silence that followed was sharp, stretched, awkward. We didn't know you were coming, Adam said, standing too fast. His voice cracked slightly, like a teenager caught sneaking in past curfew. I managed to find something nearby, I said casually, glancing toward the upper cliff. Really? Laura said slowly, eyes narrowing. Everything was booked when we checked. Yes, I was lucky, I said with a soft smile. Villa Sienna had a last-minute cancellation. Adam blinked. Villa Sienna? That place up there? He pointed, as if he couldn't believe it. With the glass terrace and the infinity pool? That's the one. Rachel let out a low whistle. That's not exactly nearby. That's luxury. I like to be comfortable, I replied, my voice still light, pleasant. Mom tried to recover, adjusting her cardigan even though it was nearly 85 degrees. Well, we just assumed, since you hadn't responded to the booking info, we didn't know you were interested in coming. I tilted my head. You never sent me the booking info. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Laura gave a tight laugh. Honestly, Maya, that place must have cost a fortune. It did, I said simply. But it was worth it. Another pause. Another glance exchanged between siblings and spouses. The discomfort was rising like steam off the pool tiles. But hey, I continued, since I'm here, I'd love to invite you all to dinner, tomorrow night, at my villa. Mom's face twitched. Dinner? Yes. For your birthday. I smiled at her. It's already planned. Catered, of course. A proper celebration. Uncle Grant chuckled nervously. Fancy place, fancy dinner. Well. Adam nodded slowly. Sounds great, he said. But the hesitation in his voice was unmistakable. Rachel smiled too brightly. We'd love that. Laura, for once, was quiet. Well, I said, stepping back slightly and placing my sunglasses on again. I'll let you all get back to your afternoon. Just thought I'd say hi. Maya, Mom said suddenly. This is a lot. You didn't have to go through all this trouble. It wasn't trouble, I said with a shrug. It was intentional. I turned then, not waiting for another awkward protest or forced pleasantry. The path back uphill was steeper, but my stride never faltered. Behind me, I heard the beginnings of whispered conversations, the clinking of ice against glass, the familiar scramble of people trying to reframe what they had just witnessed. They hadn't seen me coming. They didn't know how to place me now. And that was exactly the point. Walked the hill like it was a runway, head high, sunlight framing me from behind. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing inclusion. I was being watched. As the golden sun sank behind the cliffs, Villa Aurelia transformed into something out of a dream. Candles flickered in tall, glass cylinders lining the path to the pergola. White linen tablecloths billowed slightly in the evening breeze. Crystal place settings sparkled beneath fairy lights, and soft string music drifted through the open air, each note wrapping around the guests like a gentle whisper. Everything was intentional. Every flower, every wine glass, every calligraphed place card. Mom's seat was at the center of the table, marked with a white rose and her name in gold foil. To Gloria, 60 years of grace. I stood near the entrance, dressed in a deep emerald silk gown. My assistant Leah nodded from the shadows as the first car pulled up. A Rolls-Royce, of course, just like mine. They were stepping into my world. Now, Mom emerged first, in the same navy gown she'd worn to Adam's corporate award gala last year. Her expression flickered between awe and discomfort. Adam and Rachel followed, arm in arm. Laura trailed behind, sunglasses still on even though the sun had nearly disappeared. Uncle Grant looked stunned, like he wasn't sure he'd been invited to the right place. "Welcome," I said softly. "Come in." They stepped inside slowly, eyes wide, mouths slightly parted. No one spoke at first. They didn't need to. Their silence said everything. The villa shimmered in candlelight. Over the infinity pool, golden lanterns floated in lazy circles. A classical guitarist played near the bar, the soft pluck of strings layering against the rustle of palm fronds. "This is," Mom finally murmured. "This is beautiful." I smiled. I wanted to make tonight special. We sat. Dishes came out in gentle waves. Roasted sea bass with lemon thyme glaze, heirloom tomato salad, handmade pasta with saffron cream. I saw them soften as the wine flowed and the food amazed. Even Laura looked momentarily disarmed. For the first time, all week, they weren't performing. They were present. After dessert, lemon olive oil cake with mascarpone and berries, I rose from my seat. Glasses clinked as guests quieted. The guitarist paused. The breeze held still. "I just want to say a few words," I began. Every eye turned. To me. "I'm grateful you're all here tonight. This dinner isn't just about celebrating Mom's birthday, though of course, happy birthday, Mom." I smiled at her gently. She nodded, still unsure of her footing. "This dinner is about something else, too," I continued. "It's about recognition, and maybe a little reconciliation." A beat of silence. You see, for a long time I felt like a supporting character in my own family. Not intentionally, maybe. But I was always the one left off the group text. The one whose birthdays were skipped. The one who had to remind everyone that I existed. Rachel glanced at Adam. Laura sipped her wine without looking at me. Mom stared straight ahead. "I've spent the last 15 years building something. Quietly. Relentlessly. While you were trading stories about bonuses and mortgages, I was laying bricks of my own foundation. And while it may have looked different from your path, it mattered. I let that settle. Tonight, you're sitting inside the very world I built from scratch. This villa, this dinner, this moment, none of it came from luck. It came from the version of me you always underestimated." Mom blinked. Her lips parted slightly. Adam looked down at his plate. "And I'm not saying this for applause. I'm not trying to make you feel bad." My voice softened. "I just want you to understand that I no longer need your validation. I'm not seeking your approval, because I've finally learned that I'm enough, just as I am." Silence. A heavy, meaningful silence. Then, a single clap. Uncle Grant. Slow. Awkward. But it broke the stillness. Adam joined. Then Rachel. Then Laura. Slowly. Carefully. As if she didn't know how to respond. Mom was the last to move. She didn't clap. She just looked at me. Her expression unreadable. But I didn't need her applause. Not anymore. I sat down, my heart steady. The rest of the evening moved in gentle waves. Low conversation, half smiles, the clink of glasses. I didn't need them to say anything else. They had already said enough by how they looked at me. Differently. I had rewritten the story without ever raising my voice. As the night wore on and the guests began to drift back toward their cars, I stood alone by the terrace, the lights of the coast blinking below like distant stars. This wasn't revenge. This was revelation, and it was mine. The morning light poured into Villa Aurelia like liquid gold, touching every surface with quiet reverence. I stood barefoot in the great room, coffee in hand, watching the breeze ripple through the sheer drapes. Last night's dinner had left the air heavy with unsaid things, tension and truth, regret and rethinking. Today would be different. Today, I would show them what I had built. By mid-morning, the Rolls-Royces pulled in again, as they had the night before. But now, their purpose was different. Not celebration, revelation. They arrived in smaller groups, Adam and Rachel first, then Laura, then Mom and Dad. Uncle Grant opted out, claiming he'd rather not feel like a fool before noon. Fine by me. Welcome to the Legacy Tour, I said, gesturing them inside. Hope you brought comfortable shoes. They smiled uncertainly, like they still weren't sure what they were walking into. We started in the gallery hall, a room I'd transformed into a visual journey through. The last 15 years of my career, tall, elegant panels displayed my design work, each section a different project. Luxury hotels in Lisbon and Porto, a restored villa in Tuscany, a boutique resort in Marrakesh. Beside each, sketches, final photographs, and letters from clients. Some names they recognized, celebrities even. Others they didn't. But it didn't matter. The awe began to settle into their expressions. This one's been featured in Architectural Digest, I said, pointing to the villa restoration. The client gave me free rein, called it living inside a piece of poetry. Dad walked slowly, hands behind his back like he was in a museum. Adam stopped in front of a wall-mounted screen looping a time-lapse video of a Paris apartment. Gut renovation. This is insane, he muttered. You led all this yourself? Every detail. Rachel glanced at me, eyes wide. Maya, this is incredible. We moved into the next room, my working studio. Here, the walls were lined with physical models, pinned mood boards, fabric samples, even real-time client planning timelines. This is the expansion wing, I explained. We've recently launched branches in Paris, New York, and Lisbon. My firm now handles high-tier staging, renovations, and design tech development. Tech? Adam echoed. I nodded, tapping a display screen. We're developing virtual interior staging software. Clients can walk through their future space in real time, full scale. Launching next spring. Dad gave a low whistle. This is serious scale. It's been serious for a while, I said evenly. We continued on until we reached the final wall. And here, this was the part I had waited years to reveal. 4 frames. Simple, white, intentional. Each one held a message from my family. Not the kind people hang on fridges. These were texts, emails, notes they had written over the years. Casual. Cutting. Let's not ask Maya to design the lake house. Her stuff's a bit out there. You should look for something more stable. Honey, that Lisbon apartment is a nice side project, but when are you settling down? Design isn't really a career, Maya. It's a nice hobby. Beside each frame, a photograph of the project that followed. The lake house rejection? Replaced by a $2 ski chalet commission in Switzerland. The Lisbon apartment? Now featured in Elle Decor. The side project? Nominated for a Global Innovation Award. Silence fell like velvet. I turned to face them. These weren't just words. They were dismissals. You didn't see what I was trying to build. You saw a phase, a pastime. No one responded, and that was enough. After a long moment, Dad stepped forward, clearing his throat. I underestimated you, he said simply. We all did. I held his gaze, searching for sincerity. It was there. Quiet, heavy, real. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a navy folder embossed with Sullivan Holdings, our family firm. "I have a proposal," he said, holding it out. "We'd like to explore a partnership. Real estate meets design. Corporate clients. Luxury development. We could scale together." I blinked. "Are you offering to absorb my firm?" "No," he said quickly. "Not absorb. Collaborate. On your terms. We'd back you with capital, access, connections. You lead." I took the folder, flipping through projections, branding mock-ups, launch timelines. For a long time, I'd dreamed of this conversation. I just never imagined I'd be the one with the power to say no. "Thank you," I said softly. "Let me think on it." He nodded once. "Of course." And in that moment, standing beside the wall that told the truth of my journey, I felt something shift. Not in them. In me. The final morning arrived soft and quiet. The sea stretched wide and calm beneath a lavender sky, the kind of morning that whispered closure. I stood barefoot at the shoreline, the Mediterranean lapping gently at my feet, cool and grounding. Behind me, Villa Aurelia still slept, its walls holding every word spoken and every word left unsaid. I heard footsteps behind me before I turned. It was Adam, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense, eyes unreadable. "Walk with me?" he asked. We strolled the edge of the water in silence for a while, the waves curling around our ankles like threads pulling the tide in. "I owe you an apology," he said finally, voice low. "Not just for this trip. For years." I looked over at him, saying nothing yet. "I thought I was protecting you," he continued. "When I doubted you, when I joked about your career, dismissed your success, I thought I was being the responsible one, the stable one. You were the favorite," I said quietly. "You played the role they needed." "And you didn't," he said, his voice catching a little. "That took more courage than I ever had." We stopped walking, waves curling and breaking. "I looked into your firm after last night," he said. "The awards, the clients, the scale. What you've done, Maya, it's visionary. You didn't just build a business, you built a world." I held his gaze. "Thank you." He hesitated. "Would you ever let me invest?" "Privately. No strings. I just believe in it now." I smiled softly. "Let's talk, in a different context." We hugged, and this time, it felt genuine. Back at the villa, breakfast had been set out one last time on the veranda. The staff moved quietly, as if even they knew the story had shifted. Laura approached me holding 2 mimosas, not a quip in sight. She offered one. "Truce?" she asked, eyes less sharp today. I took it. "Truce." She sipped, then said, "You know, I loved being the successful cousin. Picking up the check, having something to show off, made me feel important." I tilted my head. "I get it. I've done things for approval, too. Just in different ways." She gave a slow nod. "But you were right. About all of it. It was the closest she'd ever come to an apology." One by one, the cars lined up in the driveway again. This time, no photos were taken, no laughter, only the quiet sounds of departure. Dad shook my hand. Firmly, respectfully. No pitch this time. Mom lingered for a moment longer. She looked at me, really looked at me, and offered a soft nod. No fake smile, no makeup smile. Just a nod. I returned it. That was enough. When they were gone, Villa Aurelia fell silent. The staff had already begun clearing away the linens and wine glasses. The rooms were still, but alive with memory. I walked through them slowly, barefoot. The marble under my feet, the sun pouring through the glass walls, the scent of rosemary still clinging to the air. I paused in the great room. Every detail, every line, every stone had been placed with intention, just like my life. No one handed me a seat at the table, so I carved my own. I poured myself a final glass of champagne and stepped onto the terrace. The sea shimmered beneath, the morning sun, stretching to a horizon I no longer needed permission to chase. I raised my glass to no one in particular, and whispered, "To the ones who remember themselves."